Most people believe that being pulled into chaos is inevitable. They see toxic individuals as random forces that disrupt their lives without warning or reason. But here's the truth. Chaos isn't random. It's drawn to something specific. It's not about who you are, but how you are. Your reactivity, emotional openness, and participation in drama act as magnets for dysfunction. If you can shift internally, you'll stop attracting what no longer serves you. Toxic people thrive on emotional leverage. They search for vulnerabilities, cracks in your armor, where they can insert themselves into your life. When you're reactive, emotionally volatile, or constantly seeking validation from others, you become an easy target. The good news? You hold the power to change this dynamic. This isn't abstract theory, it's rooted deeply in biology. When you regulate your nervous system through practices like breathwork, journaling, mindfulness, or even physical movement, you literally alter the signals your body emits. Instead of operating in a state of hyperarousal, fight, flight, or freeze, you move toward calm and balance. In this state, something extraordinary happens. You stop being a magnet for dysfunction. Toxic individuals lose their grip, not because they've changed, but because you've stopped giving them the emotional fuel they need to survive. This aligns perfectly with behavioral psychology. When someone's behavior isn't rewarded, it tends to fade. Manipulation, guilt-tripping, gaslighting, all of these toxic behaviors diminish when you stop reacting and start redirecting your focus inward. The big shift isn't about cutting people off entirely. It's about cutting off the supply of attention and energy that unconsciously sustains those dynamics. As a result, you become less reactive, more intentional, and the people who once caused stress simply lose their influence over you. Their attempts to destabilize you fall flat because you're no longer engaging with their tactics. Neuroplasticity plays a pivotal role in this transformation. What you focus on, you reinforce. If you obsess over toxic people, their words, actions, and impact, you strengthen neural pathways that keep you trapped in cycles of hypervigilance, anxiety, and emotional reactivity. However, when you redirect your focus inward, you begin to rewire your brain. Attention is your most valuable resource. It's the lever you can pull to reshape your mood, mindset, behavior, and relationships. By focusing on routines, breath, movement, rest, and boundaries, you build internal coherence. Your mind, body, and nervous system start working together in harmony, creating a self-regulating state that repels destabilizing forces and attracts what aligns with your energy. Silence is one of the most powerful tools in this process. Many interpret silence as avoidance or weakness, but neurologically, it's often the most intelligent response. When you're triggered, your body defaults into a sympathetic nervous system response: fight, flight, or freeze. Your heart rate elevates, cortisol floods your bloodstream, and your prefrontal cortex, responsible for rational thinking, goes partially offline. That's why arguments escalate quickly and regrettable words are spoken. But when you choose silence, something radically different happens. You create space for your prefrontal cortex to re-engage, exiting the loop of escalation and entering a place of internal authority. Silence isn't shutting down, it's tuning in. It says, I'm aware of what's happening, but I'm not giving you access to my energy. Psychologically, silence acts as a boundary, one that communicates strength on a primal level. People grounded in their identity don't feel the need to defend themselves constantly. True confidence often speaks loudest when it says nothing at all. Energy alignment is another profound truth. We are always transmitting energy, even when we say nothing. The way we breathe, move, carry tension, speak, and respond sends signals to those around us. These signals are picked up subconsciously through mechanisms like mirror neurons and limbic resonance. When your energy is erratic, stressed, or anxious, you unconsciously draw in people and situations that match that frequency. This is why certain toxic individuals seem to find you repeatedly. Part of your internal environment is still resonating with the chaos they bring. But the moment you align your energy with peace, self-respect, and clarity, everything shifts. From a neurological standpoint, this alignment begins with regulating the autonomic nervous system. Daily practices like deep diaphragmatic breathing, exercise, cold exposure, and mindfulness help stabilize your physiology. When your physiology stabilizes, your emotional reactivity decreases, and you start choosing responses rather than reacting impulsively. This internal steadiness changes what and who you attract. People operating from manipulation, volatility, or narcissistic patterns no longer feel at home around you. Instead, you begin attracting relationships, opportunities, and environments that reflect your inner sense of calm and worth. Minding your own business is a liberating and biologically grounding practice. Neuroscience shows that the brain has limited attentional bandwidth. Every time you divert energy toward decoding someone else's behavior, fixing their problems, or managing perceptions, you deplete the resource that fuels your growth and peace. When you focus on your own path, your habits, vision, and mental state, drama becomes unappealing. Your nervous system starts associating peace with progress, while chaos feels like noise. Slowly, without needing explosive boundaries or grand statements, you become unavailable to toxicity, not because you said no, but because you're saying yes to something far more powerful, your own growth. Protecting your peace is a biological imperative. Chronic stress is one of the most corrosive forces on the human body and brain, impacting memory, mood, immune function, sleep quality, and even aging. Unhealthy relationships are among the biggest contributors to chronic stress. When your nervous system is constantly in fight or flight mode due to toxic interactions, you wire your brain for reactivity, not resilience. Peace, on the other hand, doesn't just happen, it's protected. Protecting your peace often means not engaging, not responding, not chasing closure. It means choosing environments that match your values and walking away from conversations that leave your body tense and your mind spinning. Prioritizing your peace stops you from compromising with dysfunction and shrinking yourself to maintain harmony. Your brain begins associating safety not with approval from others, but with alignment within yourself. Once you deeply internalize that you don't owe anyone access to your nervous system, you start making different choices about who you let in, how long you stay, and what you tolerate. Peace becomes the filter. If something costs your mental clarity, physical health, or emotional stability, the answer becomes simple: it's too expensive. Growth happens in silence. Profound transformation doesn't need to be broadcast. In fact, the most significant growth often occurs when no one is watching. Neuroscience supports this idea. When you're in a state of deep internal change, your brain enters a mode of focused rewiring called neuroplasticity. This requires attention, repetition, and space: mental, emotional, and sometimes social. Stepping back from noise, especially toxic or distracting relationships, gives your nervous system the stillness it needs to recalibrate. This silence isn't emptiness, it's integration. It's your mind finally having the bandwidth to reflect, reassess, and rewire. Think of it like training a muscle. Growth doesn't happen during the workout. It happens in the recovery, in the silence, in the repair. True growth isn't about being seen, it's about seeing yourself differently. That shift happens most powerfully when you're alone with your thoughts, routines, and boundaries. Silence also protects you during vulnerable stages of change. When you're upgrading your habits, mindset, or energy, exposing that too early to the wrong people can destabilize the process. Toxic individuals often sense when you're evolving and may try to pull you back into old patterns, not because they're evil, but because your growth threatens their control. In the early stages of transformation, silence becomes your sanctuary. You're not hiding, you're incubating. You're creating a new internal architecture that doesn't require permission or applause. Eventually, the changes will speak for themselves. Your energy will shift, your presence will feel different, and the things that used to trigger you will no longer stick. The people who once had access to the old version of you won't know how to reach the new version because it was built in silence and doesn't speak the same emotional language anymore. Let your results do the talking. In neuroscience, there's a concept called salience, the brain's mechanism for detecting what matters most. It filters out noise and zeroes in on what's real, consistent, and produces results. The same applies in life. People eventually stop listening to your words and start paying attention to your outcomes. As you grow, especially away from toxic relationships or environments, you don't need to argue, defend, or explain your evolution. You just need to embody it. When your actions align with your intentions and your energy matches your values, you become someone people feel the difference in, even if you never say a word. Biologically, every time you choose a behavior that supports your peace, focus, or integrity, your brain reinforces that decision with a reward signal. Over time, these small wins compound. You build self-trust, increase baseline dopamine levels, and shift your identity not through declaration but through repetition. That's what creates results, and results create credibility not to others first, but to yourself. Toxic people thrive in the space between your intention and execution. If you say you're going to cut them off but don't follow through, or if you claim to want peace but keep responding to chaos, they'll exploit that inconsistency. But when your actions become precise, consistent, and quiet, you remove their access. The only thing left for them to observe is your distance, discipline, and results. Letting your results speak removes you from the emotional tug of war. You no longer feel the need to justify your distance or over-explain your boundaries. You simply live in alignment, and the right people, those who are secure, emotionally mature, and growth-oriented, will respect that. The wrong people will fall away not because you pushed them out, but because they can't connect with the version of you that no longer needs their chaos. Everything will align when you align. There's a powerful concept in neuroscience and psychology called coherence, a state where your thoughts, emotions, and behaviors are in harmony. When you're internally aligned, your brain functions more efficiently, your heart rate variability improves, your cortisol levels stabilize, and your ability to make clear, empowered decisions increases. This coherence doesn't just affect your biology, it transforms your entire experience of life. When you align with your truth, everything external begins to shift. Toxic relationships fall away not because you forced them out, but because you stopped resonating with them. The energy once spent defending yourself, over-explaining, or managing dysfunction is redirected inward toward your goals, peace, and growth. Alignment isn't a one-time decision, it's a daily practice. It means choosing what's right over what's easy, stillness over chaos, and self-respect over people-pleasing. Each of those choices reinforces your nervous system's sense of safety, autonomy, and clarity. That's when you stop chasing external validation, stop reacting to dysfunction, and start moving from a grounded place where nothing and no one can knock you off center. When you align internally, life mirrors that alignment back to you. New people enter your world, opportunities flow more easily, and synchronicities appear not because of luck, but because your system is no longer clouded by resistance or chaos. You've created space for what truly belongs. So if there's one thing to take away, it's this: you don't need to fight for peace or beg people to treat you right. All you need to do is align with a version of yourself that no longer entertains what drains you. The rest will fall away naturally. When your mind, body, and energy are working in harmony, toxic people lose their power, not because you defeated them, but because you evolved beyond them. And in that quiet evolution, you find exactly what you were looking for all along: clarity, strength, and a peace no one can take.
But at the same time, it's also a healthy way to also start to understand that this lifetime is not just about roses and butterflies. Sometimes you are meeting situations that you just have to face and that you have to go through, meaning you're gonna meet conflict at one or another point. You're gonna meet the feeling of having competition. And the martial art, the Shaolin practices, for example, I think is a very healthy way to already get used to. If you fail at one competition, it doesn't mean that you're a bad person. It just means practice more.
What is it essentially I would like to do with this lifetime that has been given to me? And one thing, like very practical wise, is the reason why I'm very happy for this invitation. Because one of the things I realized for myself is to wake up and invest some part of your lifetime in order to generate something that brings benefit beyond yourself. That is something that gives me purpose. I like to wake up knowing this is what I'm going to do today. I'm grateful this evening, going to bed, knowing of having had this opportunity, talking with you and sharing out the thoughts.
This is where I say, what type of freedom are you talking about? Yeah, and the freedom that eventually is going to get onto the costs or is causing suffering to you and other ones, this is not the freedom we want. It's the type of freedom that makes us be able to live together in the community way better. This is the way of freedom. Yeah, where I can let you live the life how you like to live it, and you let me live my life how I like to live it. I don't need to tell you your way is wrong, you should live like I do. No, this is not free, this is limited. This is thinking you have the answers to the questions of the universe. Well, you don't, just as like I don't have them.
Who is the master? It is the one who is hidden inside of everyone and each one. It's the best version that you can bring out about yourself. If you don't cultivate it, the master will not come out from you. It is you yourself who needs to do the work. You do the work with the right methods, and that master will come out. You are going to be your own master. You don't need to live the life for anybody else. Live it to the fullest possibilities of what you are capable of. And this is what I just expressed as, that's what I call self-mastery. If sometimes in this lifetime you feel something is not proceeding, I'm stuck somehow. Why? Why are you stuck? Because you continuously try to move forward with the old patterns that also haven't worked the last 10 times. It's time for a new perspective. So it's good. Father, mother, what do you think about this and that? It's not that you have to do it like this, but it helps me also to understand the world from other people's perspective. Then it just widens my horizon. That's what it does. And at the end, I see the situation from this angle, from that angle, from that one, from that one, from that one, from that one. So that means I see many perspectives. This is why I probably see many more solutions. And then at the end, I choose the one which I think is appropriate for what I can do, and also which consequences, and they will come. Every decision will have a consequence. The question is, can you live with it or not?
The truth is, you're always present. You just don't know about it. You're over, there's some layer on top of the presence which somehow makes you think you're not in the present, but we're always in the present. Just the realization that you are is not there because it is overlaid by thoughts. If you take the thoughts away, you will realize, oh, there it is. You can call it God, you can call it the nature, you can call it the universe, no matter what. This force, this power does not make mistakes. God is not putting you in this earth incomplete. Why would he do that? What he's putting on the earth is existence. He's granting us existence.
Yeah.
And afterwards, it starts that we have concepts. We start thinking. We start having ideas about how this life is supposed to be. If you're not successful, it's not a life. If you don't have many cars, it's not a life. If you don't have many friends, it's not a life. Well, no, this is all human ideas. You came to the earth right from the beginning. You have been complete.
Do you think that transformation can happen without significant challenges or hardships?
No. There is really that simple saying, also fits very well together to what we said in the beginning. Without limitation, there is no progress. Because to realize this is my limit, I don't feel comfortable at this limit. That's why I make that one single step across the line. I cross the line, I cross the limit. That's why you grow. That's why that cycle, that circle of that circle of comfort starts to expand. Yeah? Only if you know where your limits are, you know what is binding you, you know what is holding you down. And that's why that small step, always more, continuously small steps, not big steps. But when this becomes like a part of your lifestyle, that figuring out where's my limit, and one step more. Figuring out where's the limit, next step. Continuously. Automatically, what it means is every day you are entering into new frontier. Meaning new area that before that you have never seen before. Why? Because you always stopped at the limit. Because you always stopped at the borderline. Yeah. You cannot share what you don't have. Meaning, make the investment in yourself, dedicate the time really into yourself, and make sure that you really possess something that nobody else out there in the world has it in the way how you have it. There must be something where you are confident about yourself, that you say, I have went to this type of training for so many years, I have practiced so hard, there is no second person in the world who can copy this, who can copy me. They maybe explain it in a different way, but not in my way. So there is something that I have created about myself very, very uniquely. So if you have something like this and you're confident about possessing this, I think this is already like the first very, very important step now to also express it. So, and then when the time is right, when the circumstances are right and the people start to realize and actually also see what you have, then I think you just start now and do your work, do your job and share. But in the beginning, why sometimes maybe you don't have the confidence to do it? Maybe because it's not clear enough yet. If I really want something, the energy must be there. My mind must be there. If my mind is there, my energy is there. Okay? And there we have sometimes these nice Asian sayings. Whatever is important to you, where your heart is, there is the mind. Where the mind is, so where the intention is, there is the energy. Where the energy is, there's the creation. So, if your heart is hanging on something, but your actions are doing something else, that just means your energy and what your heart really wants, they are not merging at all. So the universe doesn't know what do you want, what should the universe give you now. So for me, it's all about alignment. What I feel inside aligns with what I talk, it aligns with what I think, it aligns with what my actions do, it aligns optimally with the proper circumstances. And when everything is aligned, then the energy can just flow. Then it just flows and it just happens. This is for me my understanding when we talk about these type of things, visualizing, sensing, feeling already, contemplating about something. Yeah. So there are other people in this world, they have grown up differently and they ask themselves different questions, but we all live the same life. So which way is the right way? The Western approach or the Eastern approach? No, listen to all of them. And then individually choose what is working for you and what not. It's not just the physicality that is so interesting about this tradition, about these practices. It is especially the question, how does all this physicality, all this practicing of using the body, how does it eventually translate into your mindset, translate into what type of character are you? Do you have patience? Do you have discipline? Do you have willpower? This is the question. Because, when we go to school, for example, there are subjects that we are learning. Mathematics, biology, physics, chemistry, all of these things. These are subjects that we are learning. But every human being has something. We have something inside of us. Some people, you would say, they have discipline. Other people, they don't have it. Some people have gratefulness. Other people don't have it. Some people have a natural sense of respect. Other people don't have it. So the question is it coincidence that you are born with respect or that you are born with discipline? Or is these character traits something that actually need to be and can be developed inside the human being? Because if you're disciplined, it doesn't matter what you do afterwards in your life. If you are disciplined, you're going to have this discipline because it's part of your character. You're going to carry it on for whatever you are doing. Going to school, going to university, having your first job, building up your own company, doesn't matter what it is. So this is that interesting part, which means what all of these Shaolin practices, for me, the way how I am sharing it since years, what it is about. It is about figuring out what is the core of you as a human being that you can develop, and then afterwards, what you are doing with this core really doesn't matter. Some people make a professional life in sports. Other people make a profession by being an entrepreneur. Other people, they stay employed. Other people build houses. Other people build cars. It doesn't really matter. Right now, we can sit here. We call this life. We all wish that now we have life. We hope this life is going to be 70, 80, 90, maybe 100 years long. And after these 100 years, then death can come.
Yeah.
Death and life is not a chronology. Who gives you the guarantee? Not right now. No matter how healthy you're living, you get a heart attack right now. Where's the guarantee?
Well, I don't have one. It's one of my fears.
Yeah. Me, I don't have it either. I don't have the guarantee. I don't know every morning if I wake up. Death is not coming later. Life and death simultaneously at the same time. So using this type of perspective from my observation and also like sensing into myself, the more you're used or getting used to something, the more habits actually you yourself are starting to develop. So we humans are beings of habit. So the question is, if 20 years long you lived a type of life where there was not a lot of discipline involved, you can still develop it, of course, in the 21st years and onwards, but before that, we have to somehow balance out these 20 years of your habit of being undisciplined. So what it means is, the older you get, the more habits you already have, the more difficult it will become to change any of them. So this is why starting as early as possible is the easiest way to actually program yourself, condition yourself in the right direction of what type of habits, what type of thinking patterns you would like to develop in yourself. Yeah, but the other truth is also, it depends on the openness of the mind eventually. It depends everything on the openness of yourself. So if somebody is 50 years old, but he is still open to life. Open to life means you actually realize about yourself that you know nothing about this lifetime. You have 50 years of human life, yeah, but 50 years is 50 years, yeah. So it really depends on how open are you staying throughout your journey in this lifetime. If you always take care of staying open, there is no limit in terms of how much and how much more are you able to develop yourself. The more limited, the more restricted, the more closed you are, the more you think you are perfect, the less you're gonna change. So, and this is where now you see that sometimes it's necessary to have this obvious structure and discipline on the one side. But why? Because it's a helpful way to bring out that type of freedom that we say from our tradition. This is the freedom. It's also not the freedom in terms of, especially, you walk through Cluj, many beautiful women. But at home you have like your own women sitting already. Now you could say, well, it's a free world, we're all free, so my wife is at home, but actually I can still flirt around. This is a way of where you say, well, this is freedom. Yeah, but where does this type of freedom lead to? It's leading to suffering.
Yeah.
You're causing suffering by behaving this type of free. No, if you have one wife, you stay with that one wife, that's it.
And you're free from suffering, right?
And you stay free from suffering. But if somebody is tempted too much, if somebody cannot handle his temptation,
he's not free.
No, he's enslaved by temptation. And at some point, this type of behavior is not just going to bring suffering to you, it also brings suffering to everyone that you are involving in. So this is where I say, what type of freedom are you talking about? And the freedom that eventually is going to get onto the costs or is causing suffering to you and other ones, this is not the freedom we want. It's the type of freedom that makes us be able to live together in the community way better. This is the way of freedom. Where I can let you live the life how you like to live it, and you let me live my life how I like to live it. I don't need to tell you your way is wrong, you should live like I do. No, this is not free, this is limited. This is thinking you have the answers to the questions of the universe. Well, you don't, just as like I don't have them. The only thing I'm sharing right now is my observation. I don't say it's right for anyone. I just say until now, everything we talked about, it worked for me. If something is useful from what we have talked about and somebody tries it out and then realize, cool, also works for me, I'm really happy about it. But if somebody says, well, this is not my way of living, I don't share this opinion, it's not a problem.
Yeah.